Relationship management is the key to unlocking your destiny. During this series entitled After We Did, Pastor Wayne explores the connection between the quality of our life experiences and our relationships with others.
What's up, everybody? Back for another session of After I Did Relationship Wednesday. I just got finished ministering, so for those on the podcast see me, well, Sunday, I got the same shirt on. That's because it's the same day. So to let y'all know, that's what's going on. But anyway, we are we'll keep it rocking and rolling, and just really give some insight and perspective on After I Did. And so again, just to go back to the foundations of Relationship Wednesday, just to really lay the foundation for today, is that when you go through relationships and you want to really begin to set yourself up to make good choices in the future, you're going to have to deal with your previous hurts and the things that you've been through. You have to process it. Well, it's almost like, if you get cut, usually what we do is we'll put something on there to keep it from getting infected. And so, a lot of times when we don't process our situations right, then our heart can get infected. And then therefore, the things that we've been through don't affect us in a good way. It ends up infecting us. And then therefore, it will mess up the way we make choices moving forward. Because a lot of times when you go through hurts pretty bad, then either we'll make friends but keep them at an arm's distance, or we won't make any friends at all, or just in how we will go about it because we just didn't understand how to process relationships. So anyway, one thing I would say, just jumping into it, is that one thing that God always taught me is that there's really no such thing as bad people per se, but there are bad people out there in the world. But in the context of relationships, a lot of times it's not really bad people, it's just bad placement. So meaning that people who were just supposed to be coworkers, you made them your best friend, and people who were supposed to be your best friend, they are your coworker or somebody or what have you. In other words, just not know how to place people. So then now I'm judging my relationships off of bad placement. And because I'm judging relationships off of bad placement, so which means that I put an expectation on them that wasn't healthy or wasn't fitting for them. And we understand expectations, man, they are serious because they can have you on cloud nine or take you down. Because, for example, when we go to a movie, and this happened to me before, where you go to a movie and from the previews, you think it's going to be this great thing or whatever. And I remember, let me see, it was what movie I watched called, I think it was called Open Water, a long time ago. And from the previews, I thought it was going to be real exciting. The whole movie was about watching them float in the water all day. This is back in the day when Blockbuster was still open. You could rent videos from Blockbuster. Let me tell you what I did. Man, that movie, I was so disgusted with that movie that I took that movie back that night. I said, this cannot stay in my house. I said, I was just that disgusted with it. and the thing was because they had my expectation for something. And so why was I so disgusted? Because my expectations of what I thought it was going to be was so let down that it had me upset. And a lot of times we know that when it comes to relationships, expectations is like the controller of how we process it, meaning that if I expect this from you, and if it doesn't meet up to the expectation, and a lot of times that's why I'm hurt, that's why I'm sad, that's why I'm disappointed, that's where I'm happy, I'm loved, because all those things, when it comes to expectation, it begins to drive, everything. And that's the reason why I think that we need to understand how to place people, because the right placement really now helps me have healthy expectations. And so when I can have healthy expectations, then I can work through the disappointments better, all of those type of things, because they say a disappointment is the child of false expectations. So meaning that if I was disappointed, that means that I had an unhealthy expectation. And a lot of times, some expectations I just was not aware they were the wrong ones. And why? Because I didn't realize that they weren't the right people for the placement of where they are in my life. Because you have to recognize that we understand, like in companies, there are CEOs, and in every company, you can only go as far as your team as good as your team. So like a football team where, you have a great quarterback, but if you don't have good receivers or good people to block for you or a good running back, in other words, the quarterback is still only as good as the people around him. You can have a great quarterback, but it's only as great as that. So you have to understand that in your life, when you are looking at building relationships, that's why it's vital for you to really be clear of who you are as a person and be clear on what your purpose and your goals are, because they're going to really help you identify who should be in your life and who should not be in your life. And when you don't have no vision or no direction, then a lot of times you'll find yourself putting people in the wrong place, not because they were bad. It's just that they represented the internal makeup of you not having a vision or purpose in your life. So, for example, if let's just say, like me, I'm into fitness or whatever. Let's say you're a person that's into fitness, then you're not going to find people that's in IT per se, because you're going to surround yourself around people that's around a lot of times your pattern and compatibility or your life rhythms of life. So when you understand that, then that's what I'm going to start building people in that way. So and that's what I'm saying, where once you're clear on your vision, what you want, then you can do that. So I'll use another illustration, like, for example, I used to personal train, years ago, just a long time ago. But anyway, what happened was that for me to put a plan together, so I had to be clear on what their goals were. Did you want to build muscle? Did you want to tone the firm? Did you just want to strengthen? Because it's hard for me to put a solid plan, what machines to work on, how many reps you should do, what you should do when you're not clear on your goals and your purpose and why you want to work out. There were some people who had to come into the gym just because doctors ordered certain things got out of hand. So you had to train them a certain way based off of what was going on. And so sometimes that's why you need to be clear about who you are as a person. And I know that's a journey in itself, on, self-discovery and all that kind of thing. But, just whatever you doing, just a lot of times just taking some time just to know what you like, what you don't like, things that you're interested in, all those type of things, because they're going to really help you begin to decipher who should be where in your life. And then it's going to start building those proper expectations of what we should do. Another thing I would recommend is that you should trust slow, and build friends. You can make friends, but trust slow. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times what we do is we trust too quick. And it's not about trusting slow to say, I don't trust you. It's just giving yourself time to find out who's who. Like, for example, back when I used to play football, they would have training camp. You would go out and they would test you on like who was fast, who was slow, who could throw, who could not throw, who could block, all those type of things. They were trying to figure out what was in the kids so they knew where to place them. And I'm saying is that you need to, when people come into your life, trust slow, not to say write them off as judging them as bad. I just need to understand who I'm dealing with so I know where they should be in my life. And a lot of times we don't take that. Everybody's just so nice and so, let's do, and then you give too much information quickly. And that's where we miss. So intimacy. It's into me, see. All right. So which means that intimacy isn't sex. I mean, the world sees it as that, but intimacy is actually information. So meaning that when I'm trusting slow, that means I'm taking my time to share certain information that you don't get. So in other words, the closer you are to me, the more information I will share about me. But so you can be around somebody, hang out with them every day, but not be close to them because they don't really know much about what's happening with you in your innermost, in your inner heart, innermost thoughts. So that's the reason why you have to realize that intimacy is that. It's being able to share information that somebody else don't know. So in other words, the transfer of information and who gets what information determines the intimacy, the level of closeness, and all that type of stuff, which means that when I'm trusting slow, that means that you get this information, but you're not getting this information until I know a bit more about you, so on and so forth, that type of process. And so And where a lot of times what we'll do is we'll meet people for the first time and we'll just share our whole life story and everything and all of that. And just too much information that people don't need to know. And then you share it with the wrong person, and then it's used against you in the court of public opinion sometimes on social media, this and that, all because you took your time, you gave information to people who wasn't supposed to have it. And therefore, you find yourself being hurt by people who were not supposed to have the information in the first place. But because you assumed that they were, close friends or good friends or whatever, then now they're just being somebody who is just a associate or whatever, but you treated them and gave them information like a close friend, and then you found yourself hurt based off of that. So then now, because you still, and then this becomes your definition that my close friends will hurt me. And then therefore, then now begins to build a perspective that I can't trust anybody, and the cycle continues, all because I never knew how to place people and understand how to do those things. So that's why it's so vitally important to understand how to, because remember we opened up about navigating expectations, and that's one of the ways you can navigate your expectations is being clear about yourself, understand what your vision and goals are in life, understand what your personal vision and goals are, and then beginning to identify who's who in your life. And we'll go with some other details of type of friends and type of people and all that type of stuff about who's who and what roles certain type of people play in your life, and so that way you can be able to navigate that and go from there. So even though you share these things, and I'm just put this, even though you may even have a handle on that and being good at place, people still, because we are people, people can change, people can have a change out different seasons in life, people can still break down or disappoint your expectations. You can still be disappointed. And so you have to understand that, so that way you can allow yourself to recover from situations by where it can, don't fit your expectations. So how many? I got 12 minutes left. Okay, cool. So anyway, so that's where where it's so important. So I want to share this with you real quick, from a Bible story of expectations, placement, seasons of life, and all that type of thing. So I'm gonna talk about the story of John the Baptist. John the Baptist was the cousin of Jesus, in the natural. So I think Mary and Elizabeth were sisters or something like that. I don't really have the parental relations, but I know John and Jesus were cousins. But also John the Baptist was out there preparing the way for Jesus. So this is a family. Also, he believed in the spiritual ministry, and he recognized Jesus to be the Savior. So now John the Baptist, he was rah-rah. So he ends up calling Herod out on his stuff by marrying his brother's sister, and all. It was just a thing. And so King Herod had John the Baptist locked up. So now I want to take you to the text where so a couple of disciples that were with John is now following Jesus. So they go visit John in jail. And so I want you to see this here. And it says, and this is Matthew 11, if you want to read it in your own reference. It says, now it came to pass, and this is starting verse 1. Now it came to pass when Jesus finished commanding his 12 disciples that he departed from there to teach and to preach in their cities. And when John had heard in prison about the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to him, are you the coming one, or do we look for another? So let me back up. So it says, now it came to pass when Jesus finished commanding his 12 disciples that he departed from there to teach and to preach in their cities. And when John heard in prison about the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples, and meaning John the Baptist, and he said to him, are you, and he said, ask Jesus this question, are you the coming one, or do we look for another? But if you read the story, it says that when he got baptized, it sky opened up, and John through the announcement, this is my beloved son who I'm well pleased. So he knew that this was the one. But what happened? Because John got locked up in jail, and Jesus didn't even come see him. I just think about how I say from the one step, well, how messed up that look. I put you on, and you didn't come see me. You didn't come see about me, dude. So now John's in his feelings. He said, "Go ask him." Yeah, I thought he was the one, but now since he want to act brand new, since he got his on his ministry tip and all that, he gonna come see a brother. You know what I'm saying? And so he said, so he said about, and so what happened was, and that's why Jesus said to him, "Blessed is he." Now let me keep reading. So Jesus answered and said to them, "Go and tell John these things which you hear and see. The blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is he who is not offended because of me." So that's his response. His response is, "I'm not coming to see you, but tell John what I've been doing, to let him know that if you don't believe from the works that I've been doing, then clearly you really in your feelings." And so this was a case where you had a guy where John had an expectation that wasn't met, and he was disappointed. So he got in his feelings because he thought the relationship was going to go a different way than how it went. He thought that he was going to be able to follow Jesus and do ministry together and be one of his disciples. And so him thinking, so what happened was when Jesus' season in life changing and he was about his father's business, then he thought that even John's thinking, because I put you on a relationship, you could at least came and saw about me. But Jesus was saying that the season was different. I'm in a new season. Don't be offended because things change. It's almost like there could be people when you're hanging out for a season and then they get a new job, or people been hanging, y'all single, then you get married, then you're no longer hanging out with each other. Seasons change. But at the same time, I have this expectation on you that I felt you're supposed to be this, and it's not that. See, and you have to realize that. So the offense came. He was hurt. And then so Jesus, in his loving way, when you understand what Jesus' response was, he was actually answering his question in the way he needed to hear it. But it was up to John to understand, to not take the offense and recognize what was going on. And so a lot of times when we go through relational changes, it's not always because people are bad. It's just that we may not be recognizing what's going on. And so we get offended and we get disappointed and hurt because we didn't recognize the relational changes of life. And then so now, because I'm thinking, man, this is supposed to be my partner, this and that. Well, yeah, I ain't trusting anybody else moving forward because, I thought that we were going to be here and I'm the one that even helped you out. And when I'm in my life crisis, you can't even come and see about me, all that. See, that's what I'm saying. We get into our feelings that way. And then therefore now it begins to control and create a perspective about how I'm going to have relationships moving forward. And so that's what I'm saying to you is that be clear on relationships in the sense of who's who, and be clear and understand that once I know who's who in my life, then I can put the healthy expectations on it. So remember that why was John offended? Because he put Jesus in a box that he was not supposed to be in, which created an unhealthy expectation, which opened the door for an offense. And so what I'm saying to you is let those people go, understand seasons change, things change, so I can have a healthy perspective on relationships moving forward. All right, so I'm gonna hit the pause button there. So hopefully you got something out of that, and maybe there'll be some things that you can take and look at in your own life on how to process some things. And we'll pick this up in the next one.
Thank you for joining Pastor Wayne Powell Sr. on this edition of Relationship Wednesday. We hope you enjoyed the episode of After We Did. Let's keep the conversation going by leaving your questions and comments in the chat. We also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you are reminded to join us next Wednesday as Pastor Wayne continues the discussion of After We Did.